Hello and welcome, everyone. Hiya. Happy Friday to you all. Oh, I got to turn my light on. Hold on. Got a switch back here, a secret switch. There we go. Now we're live, right? Can everybody hear me okay? I've been playing around with having this microphone just a little farther away from me. So, yes, happy Friday. It's Friday. It's Crimey Friday, not crummy. Hope it's not crummy for y'all. It's a crimey Friday. You got your bookmark and your keychain. Oh, do you like them? Now, that has a film on it. You did take the film off of that keychain. I hope that you could tell that it had a little, it's like a protective film on there. Haven't read the book, but you've been watching the mini documentary. So there's actually a docu-series called Helter Skelter that I've been watching too. Yeah. Joan read the book years ago. Oh my gosh. Me too. Hi, Mary. You read it sometime last year? Yeah, I always need refreshing too. Lurkin' and jerkin'? What'd you say? Oh, that's not what she said. Lurking as you grocery shop. Okay. Awesome, Laura. Thank you. Oh. Oh, the she shed looks great. Thank you, Colleen. Thank you. I worked so hard on this behind me, y'all. And I got something new going on here in the hallway soon too. Okay, good. You can hear me just fine. Oh my gosh, I'm way behind. Hold on. How did I get behind? Look at y'all coming in. Hi, Bree. Glad you're here. It's fitting to you. That's funny. Okay. So my question to you guys was whether you have read the book Helter Skelter. I have 2 books about Manson that I purchased when I was in Colorado, if you guys remember my book haul. So, the number 1 true crime bestseller of all time, Helter Skelter, The True Story of the Manson Murders, with a new afterword by Vincent Bugliosi. So, it's Vincent Bugliosi with Kurt Gentry. And this is a newer copy. The older one was more red and white, I think. The older book. But I have this one. And then I also picked this one up, and it's called Hunting Charles Manson by Lisa Wheel. And she is a New York Times bestselling author. It says The Quest for Justice in the Days of Helter Skelter. So she's telling a story from the beginning to the end. This is her, Lisa Wheel. So my understanding is that her book has come out with maybe a little more information than what was known even before. So it'll be really interesting to combine all of the stuff, right? Hi, Linda, Quilty Crocheter. Good to see you. And saw the movie. Yeah, I have not watched any of the movies yet. I remember watching a documentary years ago. And so it was probably like a forensic files type thing. So it was like a 45-minute to an hour, and it was just a very, short documentary. think I think I watched it back in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. I know, the Jim Jones, right? I know. That's why I used that picture in the thumbnail because he's going like this. That's what it's all about right here. All of that's what I think Manson is. Hi, Lisa. Glad you're here. Chelsea's here. Hi, Chels. And anybody else that came in I might have missed. There's Mary, Sandy, Joan, Annie, Colleen, Laura, Sharon. I don't know if I said hello. I think I did. I don't remember. Thank you for coming in. I'm really glad you're here. I was thinking about you the other day. Yeah, don't drink the Kool-Aid. Yeah. So Manson and Jim Jones, those were your gateways to true crime. There was a whole lot of, and it kind of reminds me of today as in these days of the Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell days. So you had a whole rash of stuff and it's still going on, but you're not hearing the bigger cases as we did back in, say, the 70s, where there was a lot of these cults and there was a lot of communes and cults and these religious based groups and the hippie kind of thing. There was a whole lot of that stuff going on back then. Not all of them were as nefarious as this one. So it's really interesting when we come to today's time and we come across somebody like Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell and that whole like almost cultish religious type stuff. Hello, Robin. Good to see you. I know. I know it from way back. Oh, I'm losing them. I made it to the big screen. What do you mean? Did you put me on the big screen? Oh my goodness. You've already had you asked for the liquid and they put you to sleep with, but you didn't get any. Oh, how are you doing, Sandy? I hope you're doing okay. I'm glad you made it. Oh, and the Kennedy, the murdering Kennedy guy. Yep. Oh, she talking about okay. I thought maybe Tels put me on the big screen. I had to go back and find it. I've watched some stuff on some of that. It's the Scientology stuff is really it really kind of pisses me off more than anything else because it's really I don't know, it's almost like, who wants to go down that road, you know? Do you guys know what I mean with the Scientology stuff? Who I don't know about going down that road. There's a lot of people who are still into that, especially the seems like more of the Hollywood crowd, but anyway, I try not to hold it against some of them. Just watch the movies because I like their movies. I had to do that with a lot of the Hollywood stuff. So tonight I'm drinking out of my Texas cup. I am wearing, and I remembered what it's called, you guys. This is the shawl this is by Laura Concert Designs, and it's called Life Changes Shawl. So there you go. I finally remembered what it's called. It is a knit shawl, and I did it from Honeybee Knits. Her her and Honeybee and Melissa from Honeybee Knits are really good friends, or they were. I don't know anymore. I don't really have much contact with them, but and Honeybee Knits is no longer dyeing yarn. So yes, that's my sweet Tom Cruise. I watched Maverick the other day. Have y'all watched Maverick? I'm a Tom Cruise and Top Gun fan. Okay, just saying, Top Gun and Officer and a Gentleman. You know, the two guys in uniform that I like. A rum and coke along with dinner. Well, that's good if you're drinking it along with dinner. See, that's the feeling I get from that also, Lisa, is that it's not safe to even say anything because they will hunt you down with a bot or something, like ye who shall not be named in the knitting community. Yep, Travolta. Well, and the stuff that happened with his son. I know. Oh my gosh. I know it. Your daughter named her son Maverick. Oh my gosh. Okay, so what do you guys know? I want you guys to tell me what you know about Charles Manson. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I know. So this won't be a solid hour of me just talking about Manson as in, telling a story. I thought we would do it like this is like a sneak peek kind of thing. I want to show you how my cowl is looking. You can ask Chelsea. There is absolutely no way in hell that I'm going to be able to work on this cowl while talking to you guys. So let me show you what I mean. And I don't have a link for this down below. I am sorry. I do have a link for it if you go back to the Stitch and Crime about the Alec Murdoch murders with Stephen Smith. That is when I introduced this project. Now, this bag is from Laura at Knit for Brains Designs. And I don't think I told you guys that her husband has been doing these for her. Her husband's been making the wood stuff for her. So they've all the tags, and he's making other things that's in her Etsy. Oh my gosh, 3 times I frogged so far, Chelsea. 3 times. Okay, so here is what I am making. It is the Flame Kissed Cowl by Laura Brady from Knit for Brains Designs on Etsy and Knit for Brains podcast on YouTube. Okay. And there is another picture here. Of the cowl. And can you guys see the flames on there? Hey, Lori, glad you're here. So I'm using bits and bobs of yarn. So this one was meant to be done with minis. And I am using some minis from my stash. I finished the ribbing. Oh my gosh, look at that. Yeah. That pink is bright now, isn't it? I finished the ribbing here. This ribbing is wonderful. I really like this ribbing. This is a knit one in the back and purl one. And I really, really like it. And then here is my NYX color. And I have just started doing the NYX, doing the pattern right here. You just see where I've just started it. You really won't be able to tell what it is for a little while. But I've had to frog because I'm dyslexic, y'all. I'm blaming it on my dyslexia for sure. This is my second pink that I've added in. And then I also have, hang on, my mouse is doing something there. And then I also, these are the next ones. I'm going to go in this direction and do these purples, probably this one, and then this one, and then this one. And then the last one will be this one here. And it's the color of the bisexual flag because I cast it on when I was talking about Stephen Smith. And then with my leftovers, anything I have that's enough to do anything with, I've been making these squares. And I'm going to be making a blanket out of mini squares. So I've got 2 of them done so far. So I'm actually doing 2 projects at once. So, but there's no way that I can accomplish that lace section while I'm talking to you guys. So you're out of luck. I'm going to have to work on this other project instead while we talk. Are we talking about Manson? Yes. I want to talk about him too. I think we should do, if any of you want to knit something by him, I think we should do like something along those lines. We could do that. Hi, Tammy. Next week, the Dicky Knit Along. Okay. Make a Dicky Make Along. Make a Dicky Make Along. Make a Dicky Make Along will be next week. Oh, have you tried it? I have not tried it yet. I have some stuff on it and some projects picked out for it, but haven't done it yet. It's going to be. Is it really? Okay, I did not know that went through because I thought they weren't going to let that happen. That's good to know that we can follow that. That means it will probably be on Law and Crime Network. Thank you, Colleen. Thanks for that update. So, I know. Listen, that was what, 3? That was not too bad. Now, what everyone is talking about on the Make a Dicky Make Along is this. It's from Coates and Clark, okay? It's from book number 190B. And the pattern is the Dicky. The turtleneck Dicky. And we're going to do a Make a Dicky Make Along. And I will give you all the details next week. So I'm finally going to get it together and get that done. I may give you more information about it Sunday. Now, what I'm working on now is just a knit sampler scarf where I have done a ribbing. This is a 3x3 ribbing, so 3 knits, 3 purls. Then I did 6 rows I knit 6 rows for a garter, and then I did 6 rows of stockinette, 6 rows of garter, and now I am doing 6 rows of at least 6 rows. I may do more than 6 because I almost think this is more than 6. 2, 3. No, that's 6. That looks like more. But I may do a little more of this, which is the moss stitch, which is Knit the knits. No, knit the pearls and purl the knits. So that is what I'm doing with this. Whose podcast? The sock class. I was wanting to do the sock class with Yarnspirations. They did not send me the email, so I'm going to have to go hunt down that information. It's not on the Knit Crowd. Oh, so he's doing, it's probably paid for then. He's doing a sock class, which is probably paid for. It's a paid for class. You'll have to look that up. I did not know that he was doing that. But there is something I'll talk about on Sunday and try to give you some more information about, you guys. But there is a sock class that I think that you guys would really, really enjoy. If you go over, Chels, if you would just put her name in there, Simply Notable, she's doing 2 circs at a time. If you go to her channel, just don't put her link in there, just put her name in there, please. Simply Notable in the chat. And she's doing 2 circs at a time, and I think you guys would really be able to follow her. She's really good. And I'm wanting to do those also. I've been wanting to try that. But she's doing socks that way. Okay. Y'all, 20 minutes in. We talked about Manson much at all? I know we've talked a little bit. I've been waiting to see what y'all know. Thank you, Chelsea. There's her name. Go look at her channel when you get a chance. Write that down, whatever, and take a look and see if it's something you guys might want to do. So Charles Manson was born November 12th of 1934, and he died November 19th of 2017. So that would make him 83 when he died. He died from, he had pneumonia and something else. So it caused him, so he died from complications, really, from cancer. He had colon cancer, and then he got respiratory issues and passed away from his respiratory issues. And he passed away in a hospital, and they didn't say this, but I'm wondering if it was Mercy Hospital. But Mercy Hospital is in Bakersfield, California, and that happens to be where I was born. So I found that interesting. And you guys, I was in California not when all of these murders happened, but when he was actually in one of the prisons there near San Luis Obispo. And San Luis Obispo is not far from Morro Bay, where I used to live. So I have knowledge, and you know, in my head, I can think of some of these places when they're talking about them in California. He received the death penalty in 1971, and then the death penalty was actually abolished in 1972. So Manson's sentence was commuted to life. And then he became eligible for parole in 1978. Now, another thing that was interesting about 1978 is that my parents and I were in Morro Bay at that time. And I had a friend, my best friend, that was a guy. We were the same age, and we were both, we were just really, really good friends. I'm getting Serb's hair off all of this. I think it's coming out of the bag, actually. And my friend's mother was a prison guard. So she actually had the opportunity to be around Manson for a short time in that area. And I do not know, so I'm not sure which prison he was in at that time, because things have changed between then and now, and some of the stuff that was there then is not there now. He went to a lot of different prisons. He was moved around. Now the murders that he went to got the death penalty for 2 murders and 7 murders by proxy and 4 arsons. That's what he was in jail for and death penalty for. The murders were those of Sharon Tate, Abigail Folgers, Polish writer Wojciech Frykowski, Jay Sebring, who was a famous celebrity hairstylist, Stephen Parent, and he was a friend of the person who was actually the caretaker of the property. Now, Roman Polanski's house is where these people were, and there was a man who was the caretaker, and this young boy was killed out in the grass, and he was a friend of this caretaker. And his name was Stephen Parent. And then on August 10th, Lino LaBianca, who was a grocery store owner, and his wife Rosemary were killed. Now, Charles Manson was not at the Tate home. He sent all of his people to go and commit these murders. And he actually didn't know any of them, which was wild because he was actually skirting around Hollywood at that time. He was a singer, you guys. Did you know he was a singer? Yes, Abigail Folgers, the heiress to the Folgers coffee. Here's to you, honey. Because I sure like my coffee. And let me tell you what I'm doing here real quick. I am knitting the first 2 stitches on the side and knitting the last 2 stitches on the other side, so that I have, or maybe it's 3. It's actually 3. I'm knitting 3 on either side every row so that I have garter running up the sides here. And then what I do pattern wise is in between those. Yeah, so he hung out with Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys, and he thought that things were really gonna kick off when he met Brian Wilson. Things were really gonna kick off, and he was really gonna go somewhere, and Brian was gonna help get him all of these record deals and all of these things. That was going to be his end. I saw that in a list recently. The Sharon Tate and the Manson murders told a lot about her life and more about the murders. And there's another one with someone who was, she's in a couple of the docuseries. She wrote a book about her life in the family, in the Manson family. Oh, he was well known to people around the business, but not really known to the world, Chelsea. And there was one guy that said that he Oh, you got it on Kindle? Oh. Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, isn't that wild? It's wild. And Brian Wilson actually he went on tour. If y'all don't know, Brian Wilson was with the Beach Boys. So, hello, Yarnworks by Lydia Nannon. Good to see you. Yes, I am making a scarf with different knit stitches, just like a sampler. Oh yeah. Yeah, Charles Manson was quite famous in his own mind. Let's put it that way. And I didn't mention this, you guys, but I'm using this bag that my mother painted with cows on it. I brought that back from Colorado because I started this in Colorado. And I'm using Prim needles, ergonomic needles. These are a size 11. I'm holding 2 number 4 weight yarns together to marl it. And the yarn that I'm using is Yarn ID by Yarn Bee from Hobby Lobby. This one is called Soft Shell, and the other one I'm using is called Sand Dollar. And I'm going to go back and forth with Sand Dollar and the other colors. Hey, Darcia, good to see you. Yes, he sure did. He got actually talked to someone who said, "Oh, well, I can get you a sitting." And he went in and he sang for them, and the girls came with him. The girls, which was his minions, like you say, or you know, they came with him, and they didn't know what to do with these people. They smelled Manson. Always knew Manson was in the room because he smelled so bad. They were living out at Spawn Ranch, and Spawn Ranch is a place where it was an old movie set. And there was an older man named George that lived out there. And I want to see if I can find out some more about George. I'm sure it's going to be in the book, but I'm going to dig farther into some of that. And they lived at this ranch, all communal style. They lived all as one. They had a couple people that talked about having gone to there, and they gave them everything they had, in their pockets, and everything went into one big pot. Whatever you had, you gave it all up. Your clothes, everything you had, you gave it up for the sake of the family. They would drop acid and sing. They all had sex together. They would go and get people and bring them out to the ranch and have sex with them, and it try to recruit more girls. And at one time, because Charles had been in jail so many times, he had talked to pimps while he was in jail, and he thought he was going to be a pimp, but he was a terrible pimp. Yeah, acid, LSD. Yeah. They did a lot of drugs out there. Now, interestingly, it was said that Sharon Tate and the people that were there on the night that they were all killed, that they were doing drugs, that they were all drinking, having a party, and blah, blah, blah. She was 8 months pregnant, and her husband, Roman Polanski, said people did not understand. He said she didn't drink alcohol, she did not do drugs, and she didn't even smoke. So there was a lot of stuff that people said that went through the media that was not true. So these are called Prim. And I'm trying this my very first time ever using these. This project is my first time. And they have a very unique end on them. But I'm finding that these are ergonomic because they have I don't know what you call that, a triangle. So they're three-sided. And they fit very nicely. I have largish hands. Hi, Shad. And so they fit really nicely. They feel really good. I'm really enjoying working with them. They have a metal cord here, which is very reminiscent of older knitting circulars, which have metal cords. The join on this one is really good, very smooth. And the cord itself is very easy moving. The older metal cords didn't move like this. So far I'm really enjoying this set of needles. I really am. I will use them again for this is an 11, so it's for bulky. I'd like to try a smaller one and see how I feel, because a bigger one usually does feel better. Yeah, except it doesn't have that the cord has the feel of a chai goo, but it doesn't have that plastic on it. What are you up to tonight, Shad? What are you up to? So not all of the Manson had a whole crew of girls that and he also had a kid that came out of Texas named Tex Watson. And Tex and some of the girls went and committed these murders. And then Manson, on the next night, when the other two, the older couple, was killed, he drove them there, told them what to do, and then left them there. So that's why it was called murder by proxy. But they actually, because he had been at the scene of the older couple, he actually got the death penalty for those. That sounds good, Yarnworks. Thank you, Lydia. I appreciate it. So glad you came by. You're still working on that shawl? Now, which one are you making? Is it your own made up shawl? Just doing your own thing, or are you following a pattern? So I have already learned a lot of things that I did not know, which one of those is that I didn't know Charles Manson had been married twice, that he had 3 children. One of these was by Mary Bruner, who was in his group. And the son wound up being Valentine Michael Manson. And then he changed his name to Michael Bruner. And he actually did an interview. I want to go back and watch his interview. he did an interview in 1993 talking about his situation because he tried not to be in the limelight at all about any of it and like tried to avoid it. He was raised by his grandparents and he calls them his parents. So I'd like to go back and learn more about him. One of Manson's children, Luther, nobody really knows much about him at all. He's managed to stay out of the limelight. And then there's a Charles Jr. And from everything I'm reading, Charles Jr. may have passed away. And I think that if I'm not mistaken, they pretty well believe that from what anybody can find record-wise, that Michael Bruner is the only one still alive, and he's in his 50s. Well, it was, I was younger. Wasn't before my time, Shad, but I was definitely younger. I was in California at the time. I was actually in California at the time that all of this happened. And then we moved to Nevada. And then we moved back to California. So I'm a Air Force brat, y'all. Lots of moving around as a kid. So I've been everywhere, man. And so, So anyway, I could read to you a little bit. Now, I found a really, really good synopsis of things, and it is online on Britannica. So Britannica encyclopedias, and it is an online synopsis of what happened. Do you guys want me to read you that? Yes. But I don't know if he's still alive. I think it was a grandson of Charles Jr. that claimed him. Yes. But I don't think Junior's still alive. But I think the grandson claimed him and he took him and scattered his ashes or something. I don't know where. Probably out in the desert. Just a scarf. So, let's see. How many rows have I got of that? I think a couple more to go. Let me see if I can find that for you guys. Do not like my phone to be visible. Yes, thank you. Thank you for hitting the like button. And I hope that you guys will come back on Fridays. This is when I knit and I talk about true crime is on Fridays. Most Tuesdays we do book club, which is normally a crime-related book. Sundays is my live where I talk about a lot of the yarny things and other things that are going on. And then I have videos throughout the week. So just thought I'd throw that out there for anybody who's still here watching this back. I appreciate my replayers. Love y'all. And my lurkers. So Natalie, Adele, Gracie, Joyce, if you're watching, because I know she's working, so she doesn't get to come to the lives like she wants to. Trying to think of everybody. I've got several. If I'm not don't mean to miss y'all if I do. Okay, well, I'm going to read a little bit of this then because it's very interesting to me. So I'm going to read a little bit of it to you. Okay, the Tate murders is what they were called. Okay, if you look them up, it wasn't called the Helter Skelter, and it was called the Tate murders. And they were a mass murder conducted by members of Charles Manson's Manson family cult. The murders took place on August the 8th and 9th of 1969 in Los Angeles. On the night of August 8th, a small group of Manson family members, including Susan Atkins, Linda Kasabian, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Charles Tex Watson, drove to the house where film director Roman Polanski lived with his wife, actress Sharon Tate. Kasabian acted as a lookout, while Atkins, Krenwinkel, and Watson broke into the house and brutally murdered the 5 people. Hold on. Not sure what that one was supposed to be. What are you? Ah, you are a pearl. Tate, who was 8 months pregnant, coffee heiress Abigail Folger, Polish writer Wojciech Frykowski, celebrity hairstylist Jay Sebring, and Stephen Parent, who was a friend of the property's caretaker. Polanski was in Europe at the time. Although he ordered the mass murder, Manson himself was not present at the scene of the crime. The shocking and grisly murders of actress Sharon Tate and 4 other people by followers of cult leader Charles Manson on the night of August 8th. 2 more people were killed on August the 10th. After 2 highly publicized trials, Manson and 4 of his followers were convicted of the murders in 1971. Tate was a fledgling actress whose best-known movie was Valley of the Dolls in 1967. She married filmmaker Roman Polanski and was more than 8 months pregnant in the summer of 1969. The couple were renting the house at 10050 Celio Drive in the exclusive Benedict Canyon. So while Polanski was in Europe, his friend Wojciech Frykowski and Frykowski's girlfriend, who was Abigail Folger, were staying with Sharon Tate. Manson ordered his follower, Tex, to go to Celio Drive with several other cult members and kill everyone there as gruesomely as you can. Manson was familiar with the house because its previous tenant, music producer Terry Melcher, had earlier considered and then decided against giving Manson a recording contract. So that was the connection to the house. He didn't know any of the people that were there. He knew the house. There you go, Nisi. That's why he picked it. Yep. And they wrote that on 3 different places because there was another murder where one of the girls was involved, and they wrote death to pigs or pig something on that wall, but it was in the county and not in the city. So at first they didn't realize that was connected to these 2 murders. But that one was that's a different one. We'll get into that. It was Doris Day's son? Really? Interesting. Well, Angela Lansbury's daughter was involved with the family at one time until Angela Lansbury pulled her out. She's like, oh, no, we're not having this. Mm-mm. No. Mm-mm. And Candace Bergen was somehow connected by, I believe, by being friends with Dennis, the Beatle connection somehow. She was friends with him. So when they got to the house, it was after midnight. They encountered a car driven by Stephen Parent, an 18-year-old who had been visiting the estate's caretaker in his guest house. Watson shot Parent to death before he, Atkins, and Krenwinkel broke into the main house, leaving Kasabian to stay at the gate as a lookout. They were made to gather in the living room, and Tate and Sebring were linked by ropes tied around their necks. Sebring was shot and stabbed to death. Frakowski and Folger managed to free themselves and flee the house, but both were chased down and killed by Krenwinkel and Watson. And finally, Atkins and or Watson fatally stabbed Tate. And as they left, with Tate's blood, they wrote "pig" on the front door. Hey, Cheryl. No, he was not living there. The music producer had lived in that house, was the connection, but he was not still living there. Roman Polanski had bought the house and was living there. Now, I say that, but it was my impression. I have to reread the book and see if I can give you an answer to that one for sure. But it's my understanding that Polanski had bought the house. But he wasn't living there. Put it that way. So the following night, Manson took Watson, Atkins, Krenwinkel, Kasabian, and Leslie Van Houten and Stephen Clem Grogan in search of more people to murder. They actually drove around. And then Manson selected the LA home of the grocery store exec Lino LeBianca and his wife Rosemary. After Manson tied the couple up and robbed them, he left with Atkins, Kasabian, and Grogan. Watson, Van Houten, and Krenwinkel remained, and acting on Manson's orders, stabbed the couple, again leaving words written in blood on the walls. That is possible, Lori. I think that's what they're saying, is that may be what he thought, that he thought maybe that he still lived there. He knew the house. He didn't, and the guy. He didn't know who was living there, I'm thinking. So some of the other books that Helter Skelter, The True Story of the Manson Murders. Gosh, I thought there were some more books that they talked about. But anyway. So I thought that was a really good little synopsis to get us started. But there's a lot to this. A whole lot to this. As a teenager, yeah. Let's see. Let's see if I missed anything else here. Yeah, she moved to the that's think I remember they said that she moved them to Ireland. I think that's where she was from, right? Wasn't Angela Lansbury from Ireland? Yeah, the Tate and LaBianca murders. Mhm. That's how I remember hearing it too. Anything else to add, you guys, right now? So, okay, so Susan Atkins was the one who wrote the book. Yeah. Yeah, I saw that somewhere, but I don't remember the title. My Life with the Family, something like that, I believe. I wanna read these others first. I wanna read Helter Skelter first, and then I wanna read the other one and see what she comes up with. And then I might delve into some of the others, because this is really huge. I mean, he Manson would show up in odd places. He would just show up, Hollywood-wise. He would show up at parties, he would show up at, um, recording studios, he would show up at bars. Um, he was on some trip one night and was out dancing and crazy. And then he would become friends with these people. Lots of people that he could just somehow become friends with. And he had there was a child of it was that the child of Satan, was that the biker group? There was a biker group that he got involved when and it was after the murders, and he just knew that they were going to get caught, and he knew that this whole race war that he was trying to start was going to happen, and so they had to get prepared, and he brought in all of the people from this biker group and a whole bunch of guns and knives, and they started stashing stuff out in the desert, and yeah, there were stuff was gonna happen, but it was all fixing to happen just like he said it was, because he was this prophet in some way also, you know. Oh yeah, they were dealing drugs like crazy, and that's what that first murder was over, was drugs. Yeah, and Brian Wilson told he went on a tour with the Beach Boys, and he told someone, he said, "Go clean out that house and lock it up," because they just wanted to come in and take over his house. Oh, I bet it did. I bet that really set her off, didn't it? Worry. LA was worried because it happened to LA people. So people in LA were going and buying guns and knives and protection and everything they could get a hold of, because people in LA thought that LA people were getting killed, famous LA people, that they were in danger because they hadn't caught anybody. It took them a little while. They actually did a raid out at the Spawn Ranch 7 days after the murders, after the Tate and LaBianca murders, because of them doing the drugs and stuff. They were stealing cars, and they had evidence about their car stealing, and they went out and raided the ranch. But at the time, they didn't know that they were involved in the murders. Yes, and he was a good he had they said he had a pleasant voice. He didn't have a good voice, but he had a pleasant voice, and he could play the piano, and he liked music. and music was always his way, and he would get people to come out to the ranch with music. That was his thing. He actually has stuff out there, you know, uh, songs and stuff out there, and he doesn't have a bad voice. It's not bad. Well, they found a couple of the girls escaped the ranch, in case you're wondering how they get caught, and they told eventually. And then someone found the clothes that they'd had on that night, and it had been dumped on the side of a hill. And they were able to match, at that time, they were able to match blood type. And it was circumstantial, but it was also blood typed and all of that. So they put 2 and 2 together back then without, like you say, without the DNA. They used to blood type and fingerprints, what they did. But they had the eyewitnesses. They had the girls telling what happened. Okay, you guys, we got a good start on this story. This has always fascinated me, and I figured it would fascinate you guys also. So thanks for joining me tonight. I appreciate you all very, very much. And we will talk some more about this. I don't know that I'm going to be like back to back with the stories. So let me know what you guys think. Leave me some comments down below if you don't mind. Let me know if you want to hear more about this story. And I appreciate y'all. Good night, everybody. I love you, Chelsea. I love you, Carrie. I love you, Oliver. I love you, Solomon. I love you, Sailor. My Sailor's moving and my Carrie's moving. So I did mention this the other day. I went and helped my daughter for a little bit. I didn't do much. She's not moving her entire house. She's moving herself with a whole bunch of her stuff. And she's now going to be a travel nurse, which means she's taken a job, and she will do that for a little while. And then she will have the option to renew that if she likes where she's at, or she can go take another job and travel somewhere else. So anyway, I can now tell you that. Good night, Tammy. Thank you, Miranda, for being here. Appreciate it. Okay, you guys. It was good to see you, Linda. All right, y'all. Love you. I'll see you Sunday if you want to come and join me then. Bye, everybody.